Welcome into this episode of the Talking Stick podcast. I'm your host, Marcus Carlton, and today we're going to jump into Westside Volleyball, another first-year coach for Westside. And let's waste no time. Let's bring her on right now. Cody Zeigler. Coach, appreciate you coming on to the Talking Stick with me today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Hey, okay, so I did a little research on you and learned a little bit about your background, but maybe for some of those who haven't had an opportunity to kind of look you up and kind of do a little research of their own, tell us just a little bit about your background.
Well, I'm from Missouri originally. I'm from a really, really tiny town. I've played volleyball my whole life. We started there when we were in the third grade, and that's all there is to do there, sports. So, played forever. I went to a junior college in Illinois where I played for 2 years, and then I finished out my career at Williams Baptist College. And then, I don't know, just being here in Arkansas, it felt really homey, and I really liked being in this area, so I decided to stick around after that. I didn't know that I wanted to be in education, but I always knew that I wanted to be a coach and be involved in volleyball in some way. And so even in college, I was coaching JO and stuff like that before I could get like a school job and stuff. I coached for a couple years at Truman and a couple years at Piggott, and then the last 7 years actually I've been at Wynne. And I got married a few years ago, and we actually just started a family. And I've lived in Jonesboro the whole time that I worked at Wynne, and I was driving over an hour. And so now that we have a little one, I just wanted to be a lot closer to home and be able to spend more time with family and stuff. So, and then the Westside job opened up, and it felt like a good move for me. And so that was kind of what led me over here to Westside. And then just coming and talking with everybody, it felt like the right place for me to be. So that was my decision in coming here.
Well, let me say I'm late to the party here, but welcome to the Westside family. I've had one kid graduate already. I've got two more, one in middle and one in elementary. So, the running joke is I'm on the lifetime plan. So, but welcome to the Westside family, and we're happy to have you. And hopefully that everything will work out great for you and get some more wins under your belt. So, what is you said you have been coaching for quite a while. What would be a staple of a Coach Zeigler team?
Yeah, this one was kind of hard for me when I was thinking about that, because there's so many things that, as coaches, we have expectations and standards that every coach across the board has. But I think for me, I push really, really hard on relentless defense and an every ball is gettable mentality. We stopped practice several times today and had that same talk today in practice, and I really, really think I like to get compliments on our defense, because you're never guaranteed to have big kids, you're never guaranteed to have big hitters, but you can always have kids that are gonna just all out go for the ball, run through a brick wall to save it, really just believe in themselves, believe in each other, believe in their teammates. So I think that's probably a big staple of what a team of mine looked like. And then I would say the other thing is I'm a really, really firm believer in it takes a full roster to win a game or lose a game. It's not just about the six that are out on the court. So for me, I try to really instill in my players the fact that regardless of if their role is always out on the court or always on the bench or somewhere in between, that role is just as important as the person next to them. And really getting every kid to really buy into the fact that even if they are only on the bench, they have just as much responsibility in the wins and losses as the people that are out there. So I think this relentless defense and like a team first attitude, I would say.
I love it. I love the team first attitude because you can take that and apply it across multiple sports, and it's just as important in one as it is the other.
Yeah.
So, all right. So as we're recording this episode, season has gotten underway. Tell us a little bit about some of your players and maybe a little bit about what you've seen so far in this season.
We are a pretty small roster this year. We started out with 18. We're down to 14 now. We've just, I think there's always going to be a little bit of a roughness whenever a new coach takes over, and some players just kind of decided it wasn't for them. So we are small in numbers, but I think the girls that we're left with, they're all they're very, very excited. They're open to learning a new defense. They're open to being pushed in different ways. I've got a really good group of seniors. I've got 5 seniors this year. It's E.C. Pruitt, Bailey Parker, Maddox Curtin, Veda Watkins, and Macy Milner. And, Maddox, she's a great setter. She's been running a 5-1 rotation for the last several years now. She's She's very, very big as far as leadership goes. I think when we're talking about relentless defense right now, I'm running Veda Watkins as my libero, and she's really, really bought into the every ball is gettable mentality. And she's not necessarily a super, super loud vocal player, but she makes a difference in what she does on the court. She's kind of like that silent leader, she's very, very dependable. And then you got Macy. I'm really, really trying to get Macy to kind of come out of her shell a little bit. She's just plays just a little bit too timid for me right now, because
Mm-hmm.
I see the potential that she has, and I really, really think she could. By the end of the season, I'm hoping that she's just getting out there wrecking the ball. But and there's little glimpses of it here and there, and so I'm really, really pushing her to just be confident in herself, because she does have the ability to be that big time hitter. So I think those three are probably going to see some pretty significant playing time this year. Looking at my juniors, I only have three. I've got two hitters, Kirby Conrad and Cadence Garland. They're probably going to be two of our bigger hitters this year. And then I've got Destiny Tate. She's just a ball to have. She's so fun. She's energetic. She's loud. She's just all over the place all the time. She's in charge of all the cheering and all the energy and all the excitement for every game that we've had this summer in camp and these last two games this week. And then I've actually got quite a few. I've got 6 sophomores actually, and 2 of them are going to contribute pretty well on varsity. Kimber Wynne, she's going to be probably a 6 rotation outside hitter. And then I've got Emma Bird, who's going to hit middle for me, which is a new position for Emma Bird. Last year I was told she played outside, and she is kind of small for the middle, but she's really just kind of kept an open mind to running the middle, because I don't have anybody else, and she's really kind of coming into that middle role, and I think she's going to surprise a lot of people by doing some things in the middle this year.
I like to hear that, the way that you said maybe she's a little smaller for your typical middle player, but the attitude of, yeah, coach, I'll take it on. I mean, as a coach, you always got to love to see that kind of player come into the mix and just be willing to do whatever they got to do.
Oh yeah, she hasn't given any pushback for it. She hasn't been like, oh no, I don't want to do. I said, hey, I need you to play middle, and she's like, all right, let's go. She's tiny, but she's got a big spirit, and she's got a great vertical. I mean, she's blocking people and touching a lot of balls that you wouldn't think she would be touching. So she's doing really good so far.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, and we've got the full schedule available. I'm going to put a graphic up that we can kind of, people can kind of see the upcoming games of what you've got left on the schedule. Moving ahead, once you get into conference play, and this conference, it seems like I say this about every sport. This conference is just kind of a meat grinder. I mean, there's no nights off.
Right. Yeah, obviously, Brooklyn's been the 3-time
Mm-hmm.
state champions, and they're coming from our conference. And, it's kind of new to me to think of them as like this huge rival, because at Wynne,
Right.
the girls at Wynne, I don't know, they liked the Brooklyn girls, and I got here and they're like, no, they're our rivals. Like that's, the crosstown rivalry, whatever. So I'm getting on board with the rivalry of it, but I think it'll make the game even more fun and, more exciting. But yeah, for sure, we definitely have a tough conference. There's no off nights. There's no nights that you can take off. And even on those teams that are finishing down lower in our conference, that's
Mm-hmm.
we're still having to use those nights as opportunities to get better and prepare for the next match that is going to be big. And like I said, there's just no taking nights off or having bad nights. Like you got to be on the top of your game every single time you're stepping on the floor. Conference and really non-conference. I've tried to link our schedule up with some kind of tough non-conference teams to prepare us for what we're going to see in October and what we're going to see, once we get into district tournament, regionals, and state and stuff. So.
And having those tough games early on, I mean, I've seen that pay off, not just in volleyball, but I've seen it pay off in other sports. Coach Brandon did that in his first year last year with basketball. He loaded up on the front side of the schedule, and the girls took a few licks here and there, but by the time district tournament got here, February, they were a well-oiled machine. Everybody knew their role, and you could tell that taking those lumps early in the season paid off towards the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you never go into a game wanting to lose or,
Right.
Anything like that. Even when you're going up against a team that is bigger and tougher and a tough competition. But whether you win or lose those matches, I mean, that I would rather lose a really tough match that's going to make me a better team and make us more prepared for the postseason than to schedule an easy non-conference match and just get a win,
Mm-hmm.
easy under our belt. So, um, yeah, like I said, we're going in with the mindset of we're just as competitive and we can absolutely win these non-conference matches that are tougher. But at the end of the day, if we were to fall, like I said, it just kind of shows you your holes, and especially up front at the beginning of the season, it shows you areas that you need to work on and that what is weak so that it doesn't get picked on later on down the road.
All right, we've been serious long enough. Last couple questions I got for you are going to be fun ones. All right.
Okay.
All right. So everybody has a different way to prepare for game day. Do you have a routine for game day? Do you have music you listen to, or do you have a certain meal that you like to eat, or anything like that?
I rarely even really have time to go get food and stuff like that because I'm running around doing all the crazy stuff. But really, for me, I mean, I had like those music and things like that when I
Mm-hmm.
was a player. But really, as a coach, what I like to do is I like to look at our competition and look at who we're going to play, and then I actually always pick out a quote that I feel like we can apply to that night's match, and
Mm-hmm.
I print it off on a little slip, and I've got 15 girls. I print off 15 of them, and I tape it up in their locker room, or right in each individual's locker. And I kind of hope that they'll look at that and reflect on that before the game and see like how they can apply it to the match as well. And like, why did coach pick this quote today? And then, we break that down and we kind of talk about that. But as far as music goes, I actually ask the girls what's their ultimate hype song, at the beginning of the season. Then I try to make
Yeah.
a playlist during warm-ups that has some of those songs on there so that they get excited. And I think just seeing them get excited is what kind of puts me in that game mode, really. So,
All right.
yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Always working. Always trying to scout and trying to make sure that
Yeah.
that your girls are ready to execute. I like it. I like it. All right. Last question. We'll let you get out of here on this one. You've told us a lot about your careers in volleyball as a player and as a coach. What is one thing outside of the game that Westside fans should know about Coach Cody Zeigler?
Um, Ooh, that's a tough one. You know, I'm just really easygoing. One thing that I said, I don't know that's necessarily a fun thing about me, but I do get super, super attached to people really easily and
Hmm.
kind of early on. And so while I am new to Westside, I kind of feel like I've already created a pretty strong connection with a lot of the girls. And so, like I said, even though I've only known them since June, I feel like they're my girls. It's my team. Like I'm with them, they're with me. We've really built a good bond on trust. And so, and everybody at Westside has been so open arms, just really accepting and kind of like, oh, welcome to the family, and it feels like family. So even though I haven't been here for very long,
Hmm.
I do feel like I'm already a big part of the Westside family, and so I do appreciate that, and I think that's super fun. So
Very cool. I like it. I like the fact that you have been welcomed in with open arms. I was talking with Mr. George on one of these other episodes, and I was telling him about when my wife and I were trying to decide where we were going to land. The West Side. I came from a very small school, so small it doesn't even exist anymore. But I see a lot of similarities in the school that my wife and I attended. I see them in Westside. It's just a little bigger version.
yeah,
That family atmosphere, kind of everybody knows everybody, and it just feels very comfortable. So,
yeah.
I just want to, take one last second here before we let you get out of here and say welcome to the Westside family. Wish you nothing but the best, and let's get some banners hung over the next few years. How about it?
That's what we're working towards. Working hard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's going to put a wrap on this episode of the Talking Stick podcast. Going to take the talking stick back from Coach, and we'll see you next time.